If the Sun Devils are going to pull off one of the biggest upsets in college football when they visit number 5 Washington this weekend, they need to do these 3 things on this edition of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Thanks as always for tuning in. Wherever you get your podcast, hit like, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. You can stay in touch with that content by following me on Twitter. You can find me at RichieBrats36, the podcast as well at LO_Sun Devils. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Before we get started, too, shout out to Ketel Marte and the Arizona Diamondbacks, who were able to make it a series today. The reason why this is a very late recording is I was watching the game. It was a very exciting game. Ketel Marte walked it off in the bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, 1 out, just a dinky little single, but that's all we needed to drive in the run. It is now a 2-1 series with the Phillies in the National League Championship Series. It was exciting. I was screaming. I scared the you-know-what out of my dog, Harley, and it was a whole thing. But, yeah, that was cool. Now let's talk about Arizona State Sun Devils football. They are traveling to Seattle this weekend to take on number 5 Washington, undefeated 6-0 to start the year. The team that I chose to win the Pac-12 this year, one of the best teams in college football, one of the best offenses in college football. How on earth could the Sun Devils go up to Seattle and pull off a win? Well, won't be easy, but it's not impossible. The Sun Devils actually have had quite a bit of success against the Huskies in recent years, including last year's win in Tempe. It was one of the biggest upsets of the entire college football season, and we're sitting at an even bigger potential upset now that the Huskies are number 5 in the nation. They're 6-0, and the Sun Devils have 1 win. This would be insane. It would be the definition of college football, and it would be the definition of what's it called? Pac-12 after dark, because these guys are going to be going at it together at 7:30 p.m. on Saturday night. Be there or be square if you're up in the Washington area. If they're going to pull this off, there's 3 keys to victory that we're going to talk about. If you're on YouTube, you can see it on the right-hand side of your screen. Otherwise, let's get into it right now. The first key to victory is having quality drives on offense. Let's address the elephant in the room. The Sun Devils absolutely have to score points on the vast majority of their drives, and the vast majority of those points need to be touchdowns. This is how you're going to win this football game, is scoring. Because when you're going up against Washington, who is one of the best offenses in all of college football, let alone the Pac-12, where I think they are the best offense in the Pac-12. You need to be able to find a way to step up, because, man, if you don't, you're going to get chased out of here real quick. And this is going to fall on the offense. This is going to fall on Trenton Bourguet. It's going to fall on Cameron Scadaboo, Elijah Badger, Kenny Dillingham, the offensive line, Bo Baldwin, everybody. Everybody that is involved with the offense and its production, play calling, executing, or otherwise, is going to need to be on their A game. Right now, you look at Washington. They are the number 3 team in the conference in points per game at 44.3, but they are 6-0. They have been able to take down number 8 Oregon. They handle business against Arizona. They handle business against Cal. They haven't necessarily played powerhouses yet, besides Oregon. And that Oregon win is all you need. Plus, you look at how that game ended with a very quick game-winning drive by Michael Penix Jr., who we're going to talk a lot about on this podcast. They are as potent as you're going to find of any team in the Pac-12. Arizona State is going to need to find a way to keep up with them. So this means a lot of different things. The first thing it means is the points, like I mentioned. This more often than not, this needs to be touchdowns, because whether or not the defense is able to step up, if the defense holds them under 30, or if the defense gives them the 45 that they're roughly averaging per game, it's still going to be on the offense to be able to keep pace. We've said this all year. This was especially prevalent when they played USC. This was important versus Colorado. This is once again going to be important against Washington, because you're talking about just a dynamic offense. Have I mentioned that yet? I don't think I have. And if I haven't, then yeah, it's a really good offense, just so you know. You're going to need to score points. Field goals, I don't know if field goals are going to win this game, man. I really don't. Like, if you won this game like 31-28, then like, yeah, obviously. But I just don't see that happening. To me, this is touchdowns. This has to go back and forth. But this doesn't necessarily mean every drive has to be a touchdown, because it's not. Not every drive is going to be a touchdown for either team. The Huskies are going to punt the ball away. They're going to turn the ball over. Like, not so much turnovers, but we'll talk about that. They're going to give the ball back to Arizona State is what I'm trying to get at. When that happens, you need to be able to maximize those opportunities. And even if it's not points, you need to have good drives. Here's what I mean by that. You need to have drives that aren't 3 and out. You have a 3 and out drive, you put the defense right back on the field, that's a huge mistake. Defense is going to be tired. They're going to be gassed. They're going to be fatigued. You put them in that situation, you are setting them up to fail. It has nothing to do at that point with how good or bad the defense has been playing, because the offense, as we have seen all year, has left the defense out high to dry plenty of times throughout the year. That needs to change in this game. So even if you're not scoring touchdowns, you need those 5-play, 6-play, 7-play drives, right? Hopefully more than that. Quite frankly, I think the biggest thing here is just finding a way to keep Michael Penix and the Huskies on the sidelines. This is doing everything you can to make up for maybe not scoring a lot of points, you know? I don't see any scenario where this is a low-scoring game. What I do see is lower than what Washington is doing, right? I see Washington as this offense that is so difficult to stop, but I see Arizona State as a defense that has stepped up to the challenge against some of the higher scoring offenses in the conference. I mean, USC, which is averaging almost 50 points a game, only on, was it 42 on Arizona State? 42. They did a really good job for the vast majority of that game. Colorado, they held them to 27 points. They're doing a good job stepping up against these top-tier competitions, and this is another really good test for you to figure out whether or not you have the stones to step up against Washington. But it's going to come down to the offense a lot, too. The offense is going to need to find a way to make it so the defense's job is at least a little bit easier. You know, give them those breaks, give them a time to get some water, some oxygen, rest, hands on the hips, hands on the shoulders, sit on the bench, whatever. Give them that opportunity, because if you don't give your team that opportunity to relax, to cool down, to recuperate, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble really early on in this game. This is the first of 3 keys to victory against the Huskies. Got to talk to you guys about our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the most fun that I've had, winning up to 25 times my money this football season. It's really simple. It's really fun. Pick 2 or more players and their overs and unders on their projected stats when you place your entry. So you can take a look at Odell Beckham. So you're going to have 25 yards. You're going to have 50 yards, more than, less than. Josh Allen, 2 or more passing touchdowns. Saquon Barkley, more than 60 rushing yards, less than 60 rushing yards. Patrick Mahomes, more than 300 passing yards, less than 300 passing yards. So many different options for your daily fantasy. And they offer weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts selected player projections up to 25%, even more value. Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. I've had a lot of fun playing it, and I know that you guys will have fun too. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Once again, go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. If you guys have yet to check out the Locked On College Football Kickoff Live, then you need to check it out. Every single Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, every Locked On College YouTube channel will go live with the College Football Kickoff Live as they cover playoff implications, the conference rivalry games, and go in-depth like only Locked On can, including insight and analysis from our stable of Locked On College hosts covering their team every day. Find Locked On College Football Kickoff Live every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern on any and all Locked On College YouTube channel. You won't want to miss it. I myself tune into that, so I can highly recommend that you guys check it out as well. That's not just promotional. That is your boy also checks that out. All right. Second key for Arizona State to be able to beat Washington. It's really as simple as this. You need to bring down Michael Penix Jr. This is not something that has happened a lot this year. Washington has a really quality offensive line. Michael Penix Jr. does a really good job to get the ball out quickly, also pushes the ball down the field. They have given up a whopping 4 sacks this year. And as if that wasn't good enough, it's only been for 16 yards. So 4 sacks for 16 yards. It's only 4 yards per loss. They've played 6 games. They're not even giving up a sack a game. That is unfathomably good. That is peak pinnacle performance that you're looking for out of your offensive line. It's no wonder Michael Penix Jr. is one of the front runners for the Heisman Trophy right now. It's no wonder this offense is scoring points at will because no one can stop them. They're running for 4.7 yards per carry as a team. Their leading rusher is got 5.6 yards per carry. Like, they're doing everything right up front on the offensive line. But the good news is the Sun Devils have done a lot of good things on the defensive line. After week 1, where they didn't record any sacks, right? They put up a big old 0. Since then, in the last 5 games, they have 18 sacks, and they're getting after the quarterback at a rapid pace. Prince Dorbah, BJ Green, those are the guys leading the charge right now. They have absolutely dominated in every single possible way. For what it's worth, Dorbah's 6 sacks for 56 yards is going to be almost a little over 9 yards per loss. BJ Green, 4 sacks for 28 yards, 7 yards a loss. So they're not only getting after the quarterback and they're not only bringing them down, but they're getting big losses too. That's going to be huge in this game as well. It's not just about the sacks, which who knows, you might not get any because the offensive line is that good. But if you do, it's also going to be about setting Penix and the offense well behind schedule for their plays. You want them to be behind the sticks. You want them to be in an uncomfortable situation. You know, a 2nd and 11 is still good, but a 2nd and 17 is better. From there, it's going to be about biting down on that because we've seen this all year where the Sun Devils get really ahead of schedule and really ahead of the sticks defensively, right? We've seen Caleb Williams convert a 3rd and 20, 3rd and 22, something like that with ease. So this is going to be a very similar situation. Like, it's not just going to be about bringing them down. It's you need the coverage to hold up too. But it really does start up front. It starts with the defensive line finding a way to wreak havoc, create pressure, and get this offense uncomfortable. If you can't find a way to do that, then Penix is just going to tear you apart. And he's done that all year long. He's completing, I'm looking at the wrong one. Penix is completing 72% of his passes. He's averaging almost 11 yards per attempt, 10.7 yards per attempt, 72% completion, 20 touchdowns against just 3 interceptions. He is doing everything right at the quarterback spot. But perhaps even more so to the credit of the team is how well the offensive line has played. Because when you don't allow your quarterback to take pressure, take hits, knockdowns, sacks, all of it, you're going to have vast majority of guys that can pick you apart. I mean, for Arizona State, look at the way the offense is run, right? Trenton Bourguet is running a quality offense that gets the ball out quickly. 2 seconds, ball is out. And because of that, Bourguet has only been sacked 4 times this year. 5 times. He has been sacked 5 times. Of 22 sacks, 11 of them have come from Drew Pine. Bourguet has taken 5 of those 22 sacks over quite a bit more playtime. What is going on is the offense is scheming away to find the success. With Washington, they're doing a really good job getting the ball out, but they're also doing a good job up front so that they can unlock every level of the field. That's not something Arizona State has been able to do just yet. Hopefully they'll be able to find that point, but this is where Washington is at. Washington understands how to use their offensive line effectively, whether it's getting the ball out quick or whether it's holding tight and creating a pocket for Penix to step up into. So Arizona State needs to find a way to be able to disrupt the pocket, make Michael Penix uncomfortable, rattle him, and help give them a fighting chance in this game. Because if you don't find a way to get Michael Penix off of his rhythm and you don't find a way to be able to get your defense a chance to create those maybe turnovers, which we'll talk about here in a minute, but give yourself those opportunities to have plus plays for the defensive side of the football, you're going to get torn apart. Michael Penix Jr. is an absolutely unbelievable talent at the quarterbacking spot, and you need to be able to find a way to make him uncomfortable. It comes up front and getting him rattled with a good pass rush. Today's episode is also brought to you by Jase Medical. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world today, and it's important to be prepared for any major events, whether it's hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, or anything else you can think of that may lead to supply chain shortages for medications or the inability to get medications in a timely manner. The Jase case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. All it takes to get a Jase case is to fill out a simple online form and, in some cases, jump on a quick call with one of our board-certified physicians. Ongoing care from our physicians on any treatment-related questions is available as well, with doctor-created and doctor-recommended backing this. Don't get caught unprepared. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. Jase handles everything from online evaluation to licensed pharmacy, medication delivery, and ongoing consultation and care. Go to jasemedical.com and enter promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a $20 discount on your order. That's promo code LOCKEDON at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Wherever you get those podcasts, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications. We'll be back tomorrow as well as we go through our game preview. You guys won't want to miss that. Let's talk about the final step to beating Washington, and that's getting extra drives. Obviously, turnovers would be awesome. Arizona State has a single turnover this year. It was a miscommunicated snap between Caleb Williams and a running back. I think it was Marshawn Lloyd. That was week 4. So it took 4 games to get our first turnover, and we have not had one since. No interceptions, no other fumble recoveries. That's it. That needs to change. It needs to change at some point in time. We cannot continue to sit here and not force turnovers. That needs to end. And preferably it ends right now against Washington. The problem, they're not turning the ball over. Again, Penix has just 3 interceptions on the year. 3 interceptions on 215 attempts, mind you. He is taking care of the football. At the very worst, he's playing outstanding. So you need to find a way to create turnovers in one way or another. Maybe it's a forced fumble. Maybe it's some kind of miscommunication on a special teams play. I don't know. Find a way to create turnovers. But if you don't create turnovers in the stat box and the box score, then create turnovers in other ways. Get those 3 and outs on defense. Have them stall out on drives. Forcing punts is almost as good as a turnover in a game against an offensive juggernaut like Washington. Finding a way to get them off the field is just as good as a turnover. It gives you, quote unquote, extra drives here. It can be the turnovers, of course. No one's going to say no to a turnover. But getting Penix and the Huskies off the field via 3 and out, that's huge. In my book, that's a turnover. That's a turnover in my book, especially against that offense that Kalen DeBoer is running there. Having them stall out on a 10-play drive, that's also good. Even better is if you can force them to punt that, or maybe they miss a field goal or you block a field goal. I don't know. But empty possessions for the Huskies, this is what's going to make or break this game. The more you can force in this game, the better your chances are, especially when you consider the ineptitude of the offense thus far. That's been the case all year. Is this defense does a good job getting off the football field. So if they're doing it as often as we're hoping they are against such a high-flying offense, you're just hoping your offense steps up at that point, which goes back to my first key to victory, which was the quality drive. So that is where you're happy with points. You don't always want to settle for field goals, but in an instance where your defense is forcing consistent 3 and outs, let's say something crazy happens and ASU forces 3 consecutive 3 and outs. If the Sun Devils kick the field goal on each of those drives, that's 2 possessions. That's a win, man. That's a win. So finding ways to capitalize on any extra drives the defense gives you, whether it's a turnovers, whether it's a 3 and out, whatever. Finding ways to capitalize on those. That's how you win this game. It also goes back to keeping Penix on the sidelines. The more he's on the football field, the lower your chances are of winning this game. The more opportunity you present to Michael Penix, the worse your chances are, which goes into the second point. Once again, you got to rattle him. You gotta collapse that pocket. You need to knock him down. You need to sack him. If you cannot do any of those, you're going to get blown out. This is a game that over the last several years is decided by no more than 2 possessions. This is a game that last year Arizona State had no business winning, but they did. There is an opportunity. I don't know how big it is. I don't know how much I'm buying into it personally, but it's there. This is a team that you have had their number. This is a team that could be overlooking you. It's the classic trap game, right? It's there. Every game is winnable. Every game, even this one. If the Sun Devils are to win, they need quality drives, they need extra drives, and they need to rattle Michael Penix. That's your 3 keys to victory. What are your guys' keys to victory? Do you think we're going to beat Washington? Let me know in the comments, or you can hit me up on Twitter at Richie Bradshaw36 in the podcast as well at LO_Sun Devils. I thank you guys as always for tuning in. Remember, wherever you're getting your podcast, to hit like and subscribe and turn on those notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. We'll be back again tomorrow to talk about our game preview. Till then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils, and go Diamondbacks.